The space program now is as well funded at $22 billion nationally as it has been since all the way back in the Apollo days. So space is hot right now.
The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Thank you for joining us. Here we are. Go to Stewart.com/radio. That's right, Stewart.com/radio. What a show we have for you today. When we think about all the great things, exciting things about Houston, Texas, we're going to focus on an area that is so unique on the whole planet. In fact, the Bay Area of Houston. No, not Bay Area, San Francisco. No, Bay Area, Houston. We have tremendous people from the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership right here on the show. We're going to talk about the Space Center. We're going to talk about all the economic drivers there, the things that are going on. So if you're right here in Houston, you know that area is right there, some of the things going on. However, if you are outside of the Houston area or anywhere else, and even the Houstonians, sometimes we forget all the great things, the space programs, the tourist things, so many things right there in the Bay Area. So Real Estate Matters is going to begin right now. Put your seatbelts on. First, we are going to talk to Dan Seal. He is the Executive Director for Economic Development for the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you so much for having us today.
Well, it's been many years since you've been on the show, but Houston is so unique for so many reasons, but one of them is that the Bay Area has so many distinctions and so many unique distinctions, unlike any other place on the planet. So first of all, people tuning in, maybe here in Houston or far away, let's tell people what the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership is.
Yes, sir. It's a regional economic development organization, 45 years old, and it's a membership-driven organization. We've got more than 270 corporate members that invest in the partnership, but our role is to market and sell Houston, and specifically the Bay Area part of Houston, defined as Southeast Houston, Galveston, and Harris County, right around Clear Lake. We sell that region to companies that are looking at moving and expanding their operations, and we want them to come here and create jobs here, grow here, expand here, rather than, let's say, St. Louis, Missouri, or Paris, France. And so it's a very important organization that really relies on a lot of its partners and its allies, the real estate community being number one on that list. As we market the Houston region, we so rely on real estate brokers, developers, lenders, real estate attorneys, and so it's a team sport, if you will, as we sell Houston.
Well, it seems like you're doing a tremendous job, because we know, and we hear about it all the time, people are arriving in Houston in mass numbers on a daily basis from all over the place. And yes, we always hear about people from California. Let's tell people about your role with the partnership.
You bet. As head of economic development, my specific role is, as I said, to promote this region to companies as they move into the area. And what does that mean? Why are people coming here? And why do we think they'll continue to come here? It's simple, because Texas offers a great product. We are a low cost of business operations location. We're centrally located within the United States, east and west, but also north and south, especially when you start looking at South America and Central America. We have very inexpensive and quality real estate here, and we've got a great workforce here. And so our role is really to get that word out there on the street through our real estate networks, but also through the site consulting networks around the country that are working with these companies as they're looking for new locations. And yes, we've been very successful, knock on wood, the last 10 years especially. Texas has been a very, very hot commodity, and we see that continuing.
In the meantime, as far as the area, the geographic area that is part of your partnership. Let's define where that is because, yes, people are arriving to Houston in general, but they're also going to the Woodlands here and there. But where is your footprint if you were to define it loosely?
You bet, Bill. If you look at a face of a clock, we would be from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That southeast part of the greater Houston region, Pasadena to the north, State Highway 225, all the way down to Galveston Island. So we incorporate the Gulf Freeway and 16 cities, mostly around the Clear Lake area. So cities like League City, Friendswood, Webster, Kemah, over to LaPorte, and as I mentioned earlier, all the way down to the beaches down on Galveston. So it's that southeast part of Houston, Galveston, the greater Houston, Galveston region.
And what goes on in that geographic area influences the world when we're talking about the space programs, the things that are going on there, and then also the shipping. And yes, you mentioned South America. Many people forget, even Houstonians that are doing what we all do in and day out, your area is a very powerful and influential area. Tell us more about it.
You bet. You're right. It is the part of the Houston area that touches the water. And so not only does that mean maritime commerce, but it also means recreation. And if you're going to want to go out and kayak or canoe or yacht or sail or ski, you're going to do it down in the Bay Area, Houston region. We track 5 industries, and all 5 of them are doing quite well. These are our key target industries, and whether it's, you mentioned aerospace, we're home to Johnson Space Center, right smack in the middle of the Bay Area, but also the maritime industry, which you alluded to, healthcare, also specialty chemicals, which again makes us a world player. We're one of the leading producers of specialty chemical products, and we export those throughout the world, including plastic resins and petroleum products. And then also recreation and tourism, as I mentioned before. That would round out our 5 major industry sectors. And again, knock on wood, we're doing quite well post the pandemic. We've bounced back strongly in each of those industries, and including the recreation and tourism industry, which was probably the one that was the slowest to recover, but they're coming back in a strong way right now with Space Center Houston doing well, the Kemah Boardwalk doing well, all the festivals that we have in our area. Galveston County and Galveston, the beaches, our friends in Galveston Island just had a great summer, and the hotels were filled, the restaurants were filled. So I'll just close by saying if you want to have fun or work along the waterfront or eat great seafood, then you're going to end up down in the Bay Area, Houston.
And that's right. Even as far as the tourism element, that serves those of us that are Houston residents, but also many people, it's a go-to destination for people in other states and other cities.
It is.
There's so much to talk about, Dan. I don't know where to start. So, first of all, if someone has a business, let's say they're coming from another state or another city, and they say, for sure, I want to be in Houston, and they go to you and check your area out, but they're also going to other places in the Houston area. What are some of the things that you're telling them? If I were a prospective business wanting to move to Houston, I say, Dan, why should I be in the Bay Area?
You bet. Well, first of all, they're hitting
I bet you have an answer.
I do.
Or 3 or 4.
They're hitting a home run by choosing the greater Houston region, number one.
For starters.
Anywhere they end up here is going to be a major home run, as I said. And each region has their own benefits and their own attractions. Ours are closely tied to some of those industries that I mentioned. If you need to be on the water, if you're a maritime company, you're going to end up in our area. If you're related to Johnson's Space Center with the aerospace industry, you're likely going to end up in our area. But it's unique in that we have so many of the multimodal transportation elements within Houston that are just centered right around the Bay Area. So whether it's railroad, whether it's the port, whether it's the highway systems, or whether it's the airport systems, we have all of that down in our area. So it's easy to get to. It's easy to move around. We've got very, very inexpensive real estate in our area. So some of those are some of the high points that we mentioned. But the last one, and increasingly important recently, is workforce and workforce development. So we work with 5 different ISDs, independent school districts, and also a multitude of academic partners that are training the next generation of workers in the Houston area. And that's going to be one of the most important things moving forward, Bill. Companies want to know and make sure that they have the workers present that they're going to need to hire to be successful.
And when we talk about businesses that are coming to Where are you seeing them coming from?
Well, still, a lot, we were joking about that a minute ago, but there's a lot of companies that are coming from the higher cost areas of the country, California and the Northeast especially. In fact, there's a new term that's been coined, which I've been stealing a lot lately. In the Bible, we have the book of Exodus, where people left and they went to the Promised Land. Now we have Texodus, where people are leaving California and the Northeast to come to the Promised Land here. So, and I'll tell you what, since the pandemic, a lot of people around the country, of course, were shut down. They were in their own homes, having to work from home, and they had a lot of time to think about, as the country begins to open up, do I really want to stay where I am in some of these higher cost areas, or maybe this is an opportunity to move my company? And we've seen so much activity since the pandemic, and truly Texas is going to be a net benefactor post-pandemic.
From the time someone first talks to you, I'm going to guess, I'm sure it's different situations, but let's say someone calls you up from another state, another city. They reach you, they say, Dan, I'm thinking about moving my medium-sized business or whatever size business to Houston, to your area. How long from, say, that phone call? I know it would vary, but what does the scenario usually play out from the time they call, their first inquiry, to when they actually move their business, they arrive?
The sweet spot would be between 6 and 12 months. Generally, a rule of thumb, the smaller the company, the more nimble. The larger the company, it takes a little bit longer because they're looking at lease expirations where they are. So there's a lot of things that have to come into play. But the sweet spot would be these projects take a long time, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So we like to say that we're a leading indicator, and that's why we're so glad that our phones continue to ring off the hook right now. So the projects that we're getting in the door right now are not going to make for 6 months to 12 months to 18 months down the road. But that bodes very, very well for this area. We should all feel comfortable that this area is going to continue to grow. In fact, I can't think of a better place to be, and I don't think I'm just drinking my own Kool-Aid. There's some great fundamentals in place here. They're going to continue making this area a very, very attractive place for business.
It also makes you think of the real estate investor here in Houston, or wherever they may be, those that are investing in Houston. Let's say they're buying residential real estate for whatever reason. Tell us about those fundamentals that are in place for someone to say, if I buy a couple houses in the Bay Area, gee, I wonder what's going to happen in 2 years from now. What are those fundamentals that might make that investor say, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy 2, 3, maybe 4?
A great question. And it's really all about supply and demand. And right now, Houston is in very strong demand. And that's why we're seeing the local real estate prices go up. Our supply has been somewhat constrained also with some of the supply chains out there that have been disrupted. The cost of new construction is very, very high. So I think those are some of the factors that are causing the demand to go up. But as I said before, the underlying fundamentals would be people want a great job, people want a great place where a good quality of life, and they want a great education and great places to worship, for instance, and a lot of other things. We have all that here, but mainly it's job driven. And so a lot of parts of the country, unfortunately, are not as blessed as we are as being able to have companies that are growing and expanding for whatever reason. We have that here. So people want that paycheck, and they want a great place to live, and that's why they end up coming here.
Let's hit the space program. That's always fascinating, and that's one of the most unique things about the Bay Area here in Houston. Once again, if you're tuning in, we're not talking about San Francisco, not even. We're talking about the Bay Area right here in Houston, the Space Center, Johnson Space Center. Before I forget, what's going on in Ellington Field? I know even last time from many years ago talking to you, something new and exciting was happening. Well, let's hit Ellington Field first, or whatever you're calling it now.
We will hit that first, and thank you so much for asking, and I hope I answered that question well. The investors should feel good about coming to this area because they're going to get a return on their investment.
We probably just sold 20 houses just with that.
I hope so. This is a great place to invest. But as far as Ellington Field is home of the Houston Spaceport. What does that mean? It's one of 10 spaceports in the country that will allow for future space travel in and out of Ellington. Now, are we talking about launching rockets vertically? No. What we're talking about is horizontally launched hypersonic and supersonic airplanes that will be able to take men and women from Houston to Beijing, China, where it takes 24 hours flight time right now in under 3 hours. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. But it's it's 7 miles as the crow flies from the Johnson Space Center proper is the spaceport. And the Houston Spaceport, in essence, is really a real estate development. It's a 400-acre business park that's designed and built to cater to aerospace companies that want to come here and manufacture space components here and work directly with NASA Johnson Space Center. Since we talked 4 years ago or so, Bill, it was the spaceport had just been approved. It was kind of a vision at that point in time. Well, it's not a vision anymore. It's a successful going Jesse, and we have had 4 companies this year that have announced locations and expansions into the spaceport, and there's some great companies like Intuitive Machines, Collins Aerospace, Axiom Space, and Venus Aerospace, and these companies are all working directly with NASA to build the next space station, to be part of NASA's program to send men and women back to the moon and to Mars beyond. So the contracts are flowing through NASA Johnson Space Center, but they're being worked on by our local aerospace commercial companies like I just mentioned, and Lockheed Martin, the Boeing company, Barrios Technologies. So it is one of the cool factors that we have going for us in the Bay Area, Houston region that we don't have elsewhere. And it's one of the things that people want to know about. Everyone loves NASA, and they want to talk about what's going on in the space program. And I'll finish by just saying the space program now is as well funded at $22 billion nationally as it has been since all the way back in the Apollo days. So space is hot right now, and we have a great future.
Imagine what the generations in the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to see. And since you were on the show last, we had the former commander of the International Space Station on the show, Chris Hadfield, who spent time at NASA. I forget how many years he said, but in the meantime, many people forget, including me, until I talked with Chris, the International Space Station has been up there in space for how many years? Tell us.
21 years continuous human habitation since the year 2000. In fact, that's a generation, Bill. If you think about it, there's a lot of young children that have, since they've been alive, we've had men and women up there orbiting around the Earth, 250 miles up continuously, and they're working in a zero-G environment where they can do these great medical experiments.
Just eating a meal is a feat, as I've watched some of the YouTube videos with the astronauts showing us how they do everyday things in space. Many people don't know that you could go to the ISS.gov, I think it is, and see the camera shots of Earth. And as the space station, I believe, makes 16 revolutions per day. I forget exactly, but a lot of people just don't know that it's up there. As we're focused on all the stuff going on here on Earth, they're up there every day for these many, many years. That is just fascinating, and I'm excited about that every time I think about it, because what a perspective these astronauts have, and what an experience it is for the world to be joining in on that effort.
It's fantastic. They're an Earth observation platform, second to none, at 250 miles up. But, it's not just the ISS, and we're so proud of the International Space Station, but also this new revolution of satellite technology and satellite deployment that's going on. We are home to human space flight in the Houston area. So we do all the astronaut training here, but all of the next generation, Bill, is going to be as exciting as human space travel is. Deploying these satellites and these small CubeSats is going to be huge business, and there's a lot of money to be made, especially in low Earth orbit. And so that's why we're so glad that these commercial companies are coming to Houston and wanting to work closely with NASA. So the future is very bright for space.
As we talk right now, how many maybe it's confidential, I don't know, but right now you're talking to people that haven't moved here yet, right?
That's right. All the time.
10, 20?
Well, I would say it this way: on any given year, we will work, Barbara and I and the rest of our team will work on about 120 projects. We will call those leads. We elevate at any given time, we will have between 25 and 30 prospects, which are serious companies that are in our sales funnel, if you will, that are seriously somewhere in that process of investigating Houston and evaluating why does it make sense to come here. So yeah, we've got a full sales funnel.
And before we close your segment here, what else do you want people to know about?
Well, I want to thank you for having us here. You've allowed us to elaborate on some of the reasons why we're so focused on the future and so excited about the future in Houston. Again, looking at the blocking and tackling fundamentals, I can't think of a better place to be. And I just believe that it's a great opportunity to be in the real estate business. It's a great opportunity to own a home, to invest in real estate in this area right now. And I think that what some of the factors that we've seen in place in those 5 industries that we're tracking will continue to make this a great place to invest moving forward.
We're talking with Dan Seal with the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. He is the Executive Director for Economic Development. Dan, what's the website and how can someone reach out to you?
Well, the best way to reach us will be at bayareahouston.com. That's our website. They can also call us on our main line telephone, 832-536-3255. They can reach us anytime. We've got a Facebook page. We're active on Twitter, so social media is very important to us as well.
And I'm wondering right now, the astronauts in the space station, they're able to communicate with Earth. Are they able to browse the web?
They can.
So they may tune in. We don't even know. They may have been tuning into this show unbeknownst to us.
Let's hope so.
We hope so. If they're listening, thank you for what you do. Dan Seal, Executive Director for Economic Development at the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. Dan, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Bill.
And continuing with the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership, she is back, Barbara Cutzinger, the marketing manager for this organization. Hey, Barbara, welcome back.
Hi, Bill. Thanks. Thank you, and glad to be back.
It's been a while, but
It
we
has.
need to have this information, and quite frankly, we need to have it more often than this because this is such an important part of Houston. So,
Absolutely.
having said that, your role, marketing manager, let's tell people about what you're doing.
Some of the things that I cover, I do work on projects. I do a lot of office projects, tourism, a little bit of retail here and there, some industrial, things like that. So we have a lot of projects. But then in my spare time, I work on our newsletter, which we put out 3 to 4 times a year, depending on the activity. This last time it was a doozy. It was a little bit behind getting done. It was like 13 full pages of information. And I don't do the story. I just want to give you just enough to chase it down, whatever you're interested in. And then I also do a hot projects presentation. I keep all of this online, www.bayareahouston.com. And that's called Hot Projects, and then the newsletter's Business Development Update. The Hot Projects is all about pictures, pretty pictures of what's going on. And, people see things, they're wondering what it is. So I put the latest and greatest in there. And then I also do presentations for that for a lot of real estate groups, so they can see for themselves. It just means a lot to people to be able to look at it and go, man, this is really happening.
And how often do you do the newsletter? Is that weekly?
3 to 4 times a year.
So 3 to 4 times a year. All they have to do is go to bayareahouston.com. They could find the newsletter, all the pictures of what's going on as
And the
well.
pictures is Hot Projects.
Well, I would say as you're marketing here in a tremendous way, obviously the results are there. Do they ever say, hey, Barb, let's back off. We have too many people coming to Houston.
Oh, we have heard that. Yes, we have.
Slow down, guys.
You hear the too much traffic, but you know what? The traffic, that's a sign of progress.
It is a sign of progress, and it just, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. We'll see down the road, decades from now, how that's going to be handled, because there's going to be some high-tech things going on. I'm just guessing. I don't know what they are. But so what
That's
else
right.
is going on in the real estate? You're very connected to the real estate world in your role. Is that correct?
Right. I work with a lot of the commercial brokers, a lot of it for projects, but that's how I find out what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, they're busy. They've been really, really busy. So the best thing is to, say, can I get 3 or 4 minutes of your time? Tell me what's going on, because I am just really interested for what I do and what's going on in our area. If they're working with a big company, can we help you reel in that big fish? That's what we're here to do. We work confidentially on projects, whatever they need. We want to help make it happen. But one of the reasons I like to, in the newsletter, I'll talk about a company and, what do they do? Where are they from? Because somebody might be saying, you know what, we need to be next to a company like that in the locale. So that's important. When you have relocations, people coming down here, maybe it's a new astronaut, like like you and Dan were talking about. They have people move here all the time. They have another family member that might want to work or need to work also. So what's there for them? Maybe it's in a totally unrelated field. So we cover it all, giving people ideas about options that are there. We have lots of new homes coming in, Bill, in places where we haven't had new homes in a long time, like right down the street from our office. Our office is right across from NASA Johnson Space Center and Space Center Houston. Right down the street is Taylor Lake Village. We've got a slew of new homes coming in. They're building some that are up on pilings, beautiful homes. We've got some new, I think it's going to be condominiums that are coming in. We've not had new homes there in a long time. LaPorte, they're covered up in new homes. Friendswood, and Santa Fe. Santa Fe and Hitchcock are two of our new cities that we're working with. And what do they have? They've got land on the west side of I-45. Very important, as does League City. Those three areas right there, you should see all the homes planned. They're selling well, but it's not like we don't have any available. We do. They're all in various forms of development right now. Some are ready to go. Some are in the planning stage. In League City alone, I think we have 6 or 7 developments. Some are not started yet, with anywhere between 1 and over 2,000 homes. It's incredible.
Yet to be. And I'm thinking, I've never been a builder or worked for a builder, but I'm going to guess if I were a builder, and I'm thinking about I'm going to make X amount of homes in the Houston area. Where am I going to put them? I bet they're in touch with your website to find out what's going on. They're calling, they're talking to you, and they're going to say, we're going to put X homes amount in the Bay Area. We're going to put a couple over here. But it sounds to me like they know what's going on.
Well, they do. And, a lot of times you just get calls and people say, I've heard this, I've heard that. Help me. I want to do something here. Where do you think I need to do it? But the thing of it is there's not one place. There's probably 5 to 10. So you help them, kind of guide them. We have a lot of new homes coming in some of our communities, but yet we need some retail also. So it's a good opportunity for a developer to understand what's planned for these areas. Where are the new homes coming? Where's a need that you see? Filling in.
Let's tell people we're talking with Barbara Cutzinger, marketing manager for the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. What are some of the other things you're doing there, Barb, day in and day out in the real estate community and also promoting the Bay Area?
Well, again, we have a lot of people that are interested in the area, and a lot of it is education, letting them know what is going on. Some people just want to do something. They don't even know what they want to do. So you just sit there and start having a conversation, and the lights start going off, and they're like, we need to be there. Yes, you do. So it depends on the type of things that they're working with. We work a lot with our cities, too. Each of our cities has, they're not all the same. We have 16 that we work with, and they each have.
Within the partnership. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of cities.
Yeah, it is. I always tell people it's like having 16 different little kids. They all are different. They all
and
have
you love each and every one, I'm sure.
Yes, we do. And they all have their own personality.
I was going to ask what's your favorite, but that's not fair. Yeah.
I know.
Okay. We love them all.
I do love them all. And, in our area, you can float in, fly in, or drive in. That's what makes it so much fun, because our homes and our communities they're on the water, they're on the golf course. Some have airstrips. It's fun. We have fun with everything. And so, again, that education is it's really good. I think checking in with the cities, we attend, Dan and I and others in our office, we go to the city council meetings, we go to economic development meetings. Sometimes we find out they'll be talking about maybe an issue, not sure how to do something where we can be of help. And so we connect them. Sometimes it's with another city. Our cities work very well together that are in our area. And one may have done a facade grant, for instance, where you're, wanting to help businesses with maybe a little bit of money on something that they want to improve the business, maybe in the way of landscaping or redoing the outside of the building. You'll have one city call and say, do you know anybody that's done? Yeah, I do. Why don't you call this person in this city? they help each other, and it's a lot of fun doing that. That's what we do. Connect people.
Also, people, correct me if I'm wrong, reach out to you to speak at their groups, their luncheons, and things like that, because you know what's going on, what's going to happen. And also, Barb, with about another minute and a half left, what do you want people to know?
We have a great place to live. We have everything we have jobs. We have beautiful sunsets in our area. Dan always says, you talk to Dan, he says we have the prettiest sunsets in Texas. We do, because we have a lot of water in our area. But on top of that, we have for just a regular person, we have that's just moving to the area. I think have it all. We have jobs. We have great education systems in our area, from high school up to the most degreed you want to be. We have great shopping, restaurants, and we have great health care. And so why wouldn't you want to live there? And so you're a lot closer on the weekends to the fun stuff that you might want to do.
Just sold 50 homes right there. That's right. Yeah. In fact, and if someone lives there and they want to go to Houston, it's a straight shot. 45, you're right there. Baseball, all sorts of things, museums. But yet, to me, that Space Center and the things around it and what's going to happen just make it so unique among the other things. Barbara, let's tell people how they can reach out.
That's right. And so they can call us at 832-536-3255. That's our main number, BayAreaHouston.com. And I'm pretty easy to reach. It's Barbara at BayAreaHouston.com. And
there's a certain ring to that, Barbara.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Easy to remember. Again, your phone number, Barbara, is
832-536-3255.
Thank you so much, Barbara Cutzinger.
Thanks for having us.
I say it all the time. Stay close to your Stewart Title Business Development Officer. There are 3 here right now. Jennifer, Susan, Rachel. However, we're going to hear from Rachel right quick. Rachel Saunders. Let's tell people what's going on down there. Thanks for bringing Barb and Dan on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. Weren't they amazing?
They are. We need to get them back on a regular basis, and you get to be in that Bay Area working with them. It's tremendous. Let's tell people, as you are here by yourself right now as the spokesman for the 3, what are the offices that you represent?
I represent the Pearland and Friendswood office. And, of course, there's Jennifer, who represents League City, Texas City. And then, of course, Susan, who's at Clear Lake and Gulf Freeway.
It's always great to see you. Let's tell people, Stewart.com, they could find out. But the other thing is you have, especially this time of year, a lot of things coming up on the horizon that are going to happen next year, even in December. So all they need to do is reach out to you, right?
Just reach out to us. We got great things coming, so you're definitely going to want to check us out.
Dr. Ted C. Jones giving his economic forecast right there. In fact, I heard he's going to be doing it from the International Space Station. Maybe not, just saying. You never know, right?
That's right. You never know.
And they may be listening. Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Susan.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. StewartInsurance.com. That's StewartInsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
Real Estate Matters would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance. With a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers, Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risk. Here he is, John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance. John.
Captain, always a pleasure to be with you.
You know, that Bay Area is something else. I always forget about the uniqueness and the things that are going on down there. We need to have these guys on a regular basis. It's unbelievable.
I'm really fortunate. I have several family members that live down there, so I get to go and visit.
Man, you're going there. You're going to the Woodlands. You're covering the whole Houston
I cover
area.
the whole greater Houston area. I'm always on the move.
Well, I'll have to accompany you on your helicopter ride around the area. So today, here we are. Insurance once again. People anticipate what you're going to say. What is it today?
Well, recently I had the good fortune to participate in a couple of events for first-time home buyers. One was hosted by the Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation here in town in Houston, and the other was the Houston Black real estate association. So I wanted to share a little bit of the points that we discussed in those two areas for the first-time home buyers around home insurance and flood plans.
Wow. And those things are changing also, like everything in real estate. You mentioned floodplains and all that stuff. A lot of dynamics there.
Absolutely. So from a home insurance plan, if you're a first-time home buyer or if you've bought 17 and just want to make sure that the coverage you get is proper, a couple things to look at. First and foremost, you're only going to have a home plan written if it's owner-occupied and the primary resident. So keep that in mind. So if you're wanting to do something that would not be occupied by yourself or not your primary residence, then you're going to look at a different insurance plan. The second thing to take a look at, and we've talked about this a lot, are perils. And all a peril is what's caused the damage. And in home policies, there's generally two types of perils that you can have coverage for. One is called a named peril, and the other are all perils. A named peril is only what is listed as covered. So there'll be a list of 10 or 13 elements, and only those things that are listed are covered. An all perils policy, everything is covered except for some exemptions that are listed in the endorsement. So from an owner's perspective, an all perils policy is a better policy to have because that puts the onus on the insurance company.
Yeah, more of an encompassing thing so that you don't have to worry too much about it. However, I always say consult with your associate at Stewart Insurance just to make sure, even verbally, what's going to be happening and what your needs are. Absolutely,
because it's all of our needs are different. Somebody said the other day on one of the events I was at that one shoe doesn't fit all. So, it's important to have that conversation. A couple other terms that you're going to find in a home policy that are important to know are replacement cost and actual cash value. So replacement costs replace the damaged property and materials with like materials and quality without a deduction for depreciation. So it'll replace the $5,000 couch that was damaged with like materials and like quality without any depreciation. The actual cash value is the cost to repair or replace the damaged property with depreciation. So again, a more robust policy is going to have replacement cost. One that might be a little less expensive, a little less of an investment would have actual cash value. So it's important to know the difference and look for that in your plan. The last area on the home insurance to take a look at is water damage. So from an insurance perspective, there's two ways that water damage can be covered. One is your home policy and one is a flood policy. So on the home plan, there's 4 areas or designations that can be covered. Sudden and accidental, so it happens right off the bat. Your dishwasher hose comes unplugged and disconnected, and you've got water all over the kitchen. Seepage and leakage through a pipe, water backup, and foundation water damage. The key here is to recognize that not all of these 4 are covered in all plans, and they're not always full limits. So you need to know, do you have all 4 in your coverage, and if so, to what extent? So those are the things to begin to look at from a home plan. If you're looking at flood insurance, the first thing to keep in mind is, as I mentioned a second ago, is it's a different plan altogether. What your flood plan covers is completely different from what your home policy plan covers. So let's
two separate plans.
Two separate plans. The flood insurance is going to be issued either through the National Flood Insurance Program, and you can buy that directly through NFIP, or you can buy that through your insurance partner that would be that same plan, that same piece of paper. Or there are some private companies that are now offering flood insurance coverage. So those are the options you have as far as purchasing it. Insurance companies have a very strict and specific definition for flood, for what a flood is, and it's important to keep that in mind. Obviously, it's rising water, but it's rising water that's partial or completely inundates 1 or 2 or more homes or 1 or 2 more acres that are normally dry. So again, 1 or 2 homes or 1 or 2 acres that are normally dry. Water backup into the home due to a rising water in the area. So not water backup due to water in the home, but water in the area that's rising. And then a collapse or subsidence of land along the shore of a lake or a body of water. So that's the important definition to know. The third point, and the one that we talk about on the show all the time, Bill, is everybody's in a flood zone. Now, you might be in an area that's less likely to flood, but you're still in a flood zone, so keep that in mind. if you're buying a flood policy, there's a 30-day waiting period if it's not purchased as part of a real estate transaction. So if you're buying a home and you're also buying a flood policy, it can come into an existence the day you close on that home. If you wait or you buy a flood policy after you purchase the home, there's going to be a 30-day waiting period. So just keep that in mind. The only homes that the NFIP will write for flood insurance are homes that are either occupied by an owner, by a tenant, and it'll also cover the property of the owner and the property of the tenant. So that's who's got to be there. So it's either got to be the owner occupied or a tenant occupied. And then just from a basic perspective, the structure, the limits are $250,000. And for the personal property, the limit is $100,000. And on that personal property, it's actual cash value. So it would be the replacement cost for the damaged property less the depreciation.
So much to think about. On the way to the show, I was telling my son, as he was telling me he and his wife were going to go away for a couple of days, I said, listen, Blake, here's what I do. And for the listeners out there, I think this is good, solid advice. When you leave the house, I always turn my water off. If I'm going to be gone for a day, 2 days, or more, I turn the water main off, because I remember years ago, my neighbor, they were on a trip, their washing machine hose burst. Water just ran for days and days. They were out of their home in a hotel for months. I'll never forget that. That's why I turned the water off, just to minimize my exposure.
Well, it's really scary. One of the resources that we've looked at, they estimate that an inch of water can cause up to $25,000 in damage, just an inch of water. So that's why it's important, one, to have flood coverage, but two, on your home plan to understand, do you have one of those four areas covered for water damage, hopefully all four, and to what extent.
John, before we close the segment, what else should people know besides you're going to be hosting next week and the following week? People can't wait all over the United States, especially here in Houston.
We've increased our ad rates considerably for those two shows because I'll be hosting. A couple things. One, if you would like to be properly insured, whether it be for your real estate brokerage firm.
And who doesn't,
your independent title and attorney agency or your property management firm, we can help you with that business coverage at 866-798-2827. If you're a homeowner, whether it be your first time or your 17th time, we can help you with your home insurance, your property insurance, flood, wind. You can also reach us at 866-798-2827. And if you're a successful insurance agent or service person and you'd like to have a new career and work with a growing company like Stewart Insurance, we would love to talk to you. And you can also reach us at 866-798-2827.
And if you're an astronaut on the International Space Station and you want to make sure your home on Earth is insured,
they can call us at 866-798-2827. Or if it would be easier for them, they can email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com.
Thank you, John.
Just have them let us know Dan and Barbara sent them.
That's right. They might even get a discount. Who knows? In the meantime, John Bramlett, Stewart Insurance, he'll be on the show hosting next week and the following week. I can't wait to see what he comes up with. Thank you, John, for being on the show.
Bill, always a pleasure.
All right. As we close the show, we brought Dan Seal and Barbara Cutzinger back with the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership for the final minutes of the show. There's so much information, Dan and Barb. So, Dan, let's start out. What are some of the things we didn't hit that you think are important for people to know about in the area called the Bay Area Houston Economic Development Partnership?
Well, one thing I wanted to amplify, we talked about workforce development and the need for new workers in the future. We have the brand new Edge Center advanced manufacturing training facility at the Houston Spaceport that's been up and operational now for a year and a half by San Jacinto College. This is a place where young people can go and learn how to do aerospace and aviation manufacturing. It's such an opportunity. There's a number of certifications they can get, whether it's working with composites, whether it's working with electronics and avionics. They can get a good, high-paying job and being able to stay right here in the Houston area. We also mentioned those 4 companies that are expanding in the Houston Spaceport right now: Intuitive Machines, Collins Aerospace, Axiom Space, and also Venus Aerospace. Those 4 companies, Bill, are getting ready to create 2,000 jobs in the next 3 years collectively.
Just in your area?
Just in our area, just those 4 companies, 2,000 jobs. If you look at the job markets around the Houston area, but around the country, where else are those kind of jobs being created. I can't think of a place. And these are high-paying jobs where people can work in the air conditioning and they can use their brains perhaps instead of their brawn and get great high-paying jobs and work in the aerospace industry. And so the Houston Edge Center, San Jacinto College, is doing a great job of building that workforce that we're going to need for the future. And they, of course, work closely with our other academic institutions that are strong in this area as well, whether it's University of Houston Clear Lake, or it's Rice, or it's Texas A&M Galveston, or it's Texas Southern University. We've got great colleges in this area that are helping prepare our young people for those future great jobs.
Well, you're talking about this one organization with 2,000 jobs. The first thing is, where are they going to live? It would most of them would want to be in that area. So there's the homes you were talking about, Barb, in terms of hopefully those homes will be ready for these 2,000 people.
I think they will within close proximity. You won't have to go far. The students are hired before they ever finish the classes. It's incredible that. And actually, again, at San Jacinto College at their central campus in Pasadena, they train. It's the Center for Petrochemical Energy and Technology. We call it CPET Center. Then so same thing there. They're training people. They're retiring, in the chemical and specialty chemical plants. So we've got to have a pipeline. In the it's not so old days, but a few years back, it was all about location. It still is, but trumping that is workforce. If you don't have the workers, the company's not going to come. So you have to really prove to them, kind of what you have in the area in the way of, your welders, your pipe fitters, your engineers, your robotic, whatever it is they're looking for. But it's the pipeline of people. They've got to know that as they retire, there's more coming. And it's so important nowadays.
It really is. And Dan, when you're talking about the companies that support the space programs, the Space Center, Ellington even, how many of them are there that are in the Bay Area? And certainly they work with people outside of Houston, outside of Texas for certain components and whatever, and services even. But how many are physically in the area?
155. 155 commercial companies support NASA and the Johnson Space Center. And they're from small mom and pop operations all the way up to the Lockheed Martin Corporation, the Boeing Corporation. So it's quite a few. And we also want to mention our good friends at the College of the Mainland as well, which is another community college in the Bay Area, Houston, that are also working very closely to educate our young people. So the message out there in Radio Land would be if you're a young person and you're not quite sure you want to know what you want to do, investigate the training opportunities that are available through these community colleges. You don't have to go to a 4-year college. You can get a 2-year degree and a certification, and you can make a lot of money, a living wage, and be able to stay right here in the Houston area and be able to buy some of this real estate that we're talking about long term. So collectively, we're very fortunate.
And the other thing, as far as a future in terms of career and people thinking about what they're going to do, we kind of laid that out a little bit early when we first talked, that aerospace, there's a lot of stuff going on. Probably a good place to place your future bets on your career. And, of course, what better place than the Bay Area and Houston to do that?
Absolutely. It's a tremendous industry, Barb.
Well, and we have maritime training, too, not only locally, but all the way down to Galveston Island, Texas A&M. And in all areas, Bill, we need more workers, but there's some just excellent places to get the training that you need. And, maybe you took a little time and during the pandemic and you said, I don't really like what I did. Great opportunity if you want to change careers. The world is your oyster. Speaking of oysters, we got some new restaurants coming out. I know you like to talk about restaurants.
I love to talk about food. So let's go ahead. Let's have a food couple minutes right here.
Well, we've got a lot of...
Where should I go? I'm on the way to try something new in the Bay Area. Give me 3 spots to go. And everybody else listening.
Have you been down to Pier 6?
Have not.
In San Leon? You got to go. It's beautiful. On the water.
On the water.
Yeah, it's a fun place. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of good seafood places all over, along I-45. We have a lot. And so we have some new one. I think the burger joint's going to be opening up almost any day now on Baybrook Mall and the circle around the mall. And I'm looking forward to that. It's a place that was, I think it was a former Burger King, and beautiful job on it. So we have a lot of different things opening up. At the mall, we have some new restaurants coming in there. A lot of activity. Breakfast places are
It's
really
always good to find a good breakfast place.
Yeah, I'm still. It has to be. It's their what they do. But opening up early, and when you can close at 6 and still make enough money for. I mean, that's interesting in these, because a lot of people feel like they need to stay open from 8 a.m. till 10, 11, 12 at night, and their model is closing early.
Well, when we think about food, one of the things unique to the Houston area, maybe other places, is the barbecue that we have. Now, in my area of town, West Houston and Katy, there are some spectacular barbecue places. So to have that tradition, I'm sure in your Bay Area, you have to have great barbecue down there.
We have, yes, we do. We have, Pappas has it is Delta Blues, yes, I started to call it something else. So they actually closed their barbecue place and moved across the street. They're right there in Webster. It's fantastic. Then down on the island, there was a guy that used to be a big winner in a lot of the championship barbecue. So he opened up a place where Pappas used to be. It's doing really well. And down in Texas City also. So he's spreading out. But that's what we're seeing are our local restaurateurs that are doing so well. They're able to open 2, 3, 4 more places in the area.
Now, Dan, do you have restaurants call you that are chain restaurants from other cities that want to make their mark here in Houston? Does that have, as far as the phone calls you get?
Yes, sir. It happens all the time, and they track demographics. What most people may not realize is how analytical a new restaurant location has become. They're looking at rooftops. They're looking at demographics. They're looking at how much discretionary income do those people living in those rooftops have so they can eat out every night. Or at least 2 or 3 times a week. So yes, they do call us, and they're just part of the overall mix of what makes a place a great place to live, is having great restaurants where you can get these different kinds of ethnic foods that we're talking about. So yes, restaurants are a big part of our quality of life.
It really is. And that's not just the Bay Area, but all over Houston. I brag about our restaurants here because they are as good as anywhere, and not better than most places around the United States and who knows the world. In the meantime, we're going to close the show. Dan, final word from you.
Just again, thank you, Bill, for having us again. It's a tremendous opportunity. The future is so bright for us. Invest in real estate, and you're going to do quite well in this area.
And Barb?
Well, let's not wait so long to do this again, because some of the inquiries that we're getting, both that want to be at the Spaceport, lots of interest there. Plus the other developments. We've got a couple of things that are not announceable yet. Love to come tell you about those. So give us a call whenever we can.
That sounds super awesome. And once again, thank you, Rachel Saunders with Stewart Title, Jennifer Bradley, and Susan Bottoms. They are the A++ team of our business development officers. And once again, thank you all for listening. Go to Stewart.com/radio, Stewart.com/radio. That's Stewart.com/radio, where you can hear this show again and again, or any of the other past 400+ shows. Stewart.com/radio. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week, where you'll see John and hear from John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance.
And the space program now is as well funded at $22 billion nationally as it has been since all the way back in the Apollo days. So space is hot right now.